Okay, today we're playing a game on Volskaya Industries. We are playing Moira the entire way through, and there is no actual SR for this game because it either took place during placements or the off-season, one or the other, I don't know which though. Our current team composition is quite terrible, but more specifically it's Orisa, Reaper, Junkrat, Torbjorn, Zenyatta, and Moira. So, first issue, no mercy, that's the big one. Second issue, our only tank is Orisa, which is inadequate at best. Third issue, if they pick Pharah, we're gonna be really upset about that one. And Pharah is really popular on the first checkpoint in Volskaya Industries, so it's not great. It could be better. There's room for improvement in this team comp. So anyway, let's start the game. So we are currently chucking our orb into the enemy spawn right at the start of the game. It is hard to get punished for what we're doing right now because we are playing Moira and Fade is a really strong ability. But I still just don't recommend doing that because it's still not really worth the risk. Because, I mean, if you do die, your team's really fucked, basically. So Zarya wasn't allowed to do that, and she's dead now. Now Reinhardt's also dead. This is the great thing about Overwatch. It doesn't matter how bad your team is, the enemy team can still always be worse. So, this is why Tracer is still scary to Moira. There's this common misconception that Moira, beats the flankers. This is not true. She's better against them than the other supports are, sure, except for Lucio. But, we're at full health right now. Fuck, we're almost dead suddenly. This is why Tracer is still scary to Moira. If the Tracer or the Genji know what they're doing, they're still gonna kill you, because you take a while to work them over. Unless you use the healing orb and, bounce around that for a while, in which case it's very hard for them to kill you, but they still can kill you. A Tracer who is good will still kill you. So, anyway, the enemy team not doing a great job of getting through the choke point right now, or doing much of anything, really. We do some interesting Fade stuff here. It looks like we're trying to pin Hanzo as Moira, which is not a great idea. The tether is really long. You can just tether them from 20 meters away. Don't have to get very close to people. So, we throw the healing orb out right here, and this is not a good... Oh, Jesus. Reinhardt's fucking coming in. What happened, dog? Oh, God. He's dropping in like he's a fucking space marine. He's a fucking ultra smurf. Anyway, this is not a good use of company resources because the healing orb is way worse than the damage orb. Because the damage orb is just 10% ult charge, makes it easier to pick people off, is very annoying for the enemy team. There's a whole, it's just very annoying when Moira's sitting there throwing damage orbs at you. Her healing orb is not very good. We're not actually that hurt. We could just pick up a health kit, of which there are several near us. And, someone over there's hurt, sure, you can just hold left click over them for half a second and they're healthy again. The damage orb is way better than the healing orb. So, Reinhardt's coming in at us, but it's okay. A Reinhardt is very unlikely to kill a Moira unless you let him. So we kind of get away with it. Now, their Moira is also using Coalescence right now. Also, I say as if we were using Coalescence currently. We're very close to it, though. This is the kind of situation where you might consider throwing the healing orb into your team, because a bunch of people are probably about to get damaged by the Coalescence. Well, they are about to get damaged by the Coalescence, but... healing orb, damage orb is still better, honestly. So, Zenyatta starts doing that right now, which is great. Half our team are dead over there, and Orisa wasn't looking too good, but Zenyatta did eventually go over there. A lot of shit is happening right now. I feel like this has to be an off-season game. It has to be an off-season game. Because it doesn't really seem like anybody's actually taking it that seriously. Which is very much a hallmark of the off-season. So, we are currently getting murdered by Tracer. We need to get health, right now. We shouldn't be hanging around over here because we need health. Honestly, if you used Coalescence right here, basically to heal yourself, I wouldn't judge you for that decision. Because it's very hard to waste Coalescence, because it does have an aggressive component to it. But, we need to be getting out of here right now to find health. Don't try to drain other people to get health back if you're, half health. Just leave and find health instead, or get healed by the other support, because you're gonna fucking die, basically. And that's exactly what happens. Tracer comes up on us while we're half health, and it's basically all over from there. The thing that's really upsetting to me about that team fight is that I saw their Reinhardt charge like 1,000,000 miles all the way across Russia, and he didn't get punished for it at all. In fact, they captured the checkpoint, so that's very upsetting to me. Don't even bother. It's gone. Just leave. It's not happening. It's not worth it. Then here come the rest of them. There they go. Enemy team actually stopped capturing the objective for a while. Our team's kind of starting to get here. We're not going to get it, though. Like, we're not going to get this checkpoint back. We should still just leave. Because nobody really even wants to touch it, and then they rush on and like, oh no, they're going to die. Oh, how shocking. Who could have ever seen this one coming? Who could have guessed that this team fight would go badly? We should definitely not commit coalescence to it. I get that our team is kind of like goading us into it, but no, don't do it. It's all over. There's no way we recapture that checkpoint. Unless they throw really hard, it just doesn't happen. So, we lost that checkpoint. We have just faded forward ultra mega aggressively against a team that can very easily punish us for this, because they've got snipers, they've got Tracer, they've got, even Reinhardt could just come around this corner and start hitting us to death. It's important to remember that while Fade is a very strong movement ability, if Fade is on cooldown, you are basically dead, because you have 200 health. You do not have the survivability that Winston does. So even though your cooldown is the same as his jump, you're not as survivable. So if you go forward aggressively, you have to know you're not going to get punished for it. And like, there are a lot of things that could come around that corner and punish us for doing that. Because if you get caught while Fade is on cooldown, you are fucking dead. That's just how it is. So, anyway, enemy team does not initiate this push extremely well. Roadhog is apparently right behind us. We also are not prioritizing healing very much in this game, which we didn't give a shit about Orisa getting murdered right in front of us, even though she's like getting hooked in front of our eyes. Like, we are our team's main healer right now because the other healer is Zenyatta. And even if you aren't the main healer, like even if you've got a Mercy or an Ana with you, you're still a healer. Healing is still your #1 priority, and then doing damage is secondary to that. We focus a lot on doing damage. We're not focusing very much on healing people. We are still playing a healer. Healing people is our #1 priority. Dealing damage is secondary to that. So Reaper wasn't allowed to do that, and Reaper's dead now, to no one's great surprise. Probably Reaper's surprise, actually. I take that back. So he's fucking dead. Imagine if he just, like, came over that edge and killed Zenyatta as well. Wouldn't that have been really funny? Not for Zenyatta, but it would have been really funny for me. So, we're caught in the Graviton. No big deal for Moira. We can just leave. Even if we couldn't, it's fine. He used Transcendence over here. Now we start healing while Transcendence is happening, which we don't need to do. Transcendence is plenty of healing. Now we can just do damage. We see Orisa getting hooked in front of us, and we were like, no, damage. But then Transcendence is happening, we're like, oh, spray. It's okay. Zenyatta's probably got that one under control. So we've almost got Coalescence built up right now. We haven't really built Coalescence that fast, considering we're playing Moira, which is another indication we're probably not doing very much healing, because part of the reason Moira builds her ult charge so quickly is because she heals and does damage. So if you're not doing one or the other, it doesn't really charge that quickly. We should not be this far up, by the way. Because, again, their team can punish us for these things. And don't do, like, that, where you're fading out of the way of danger, and then, like, come back to where the danger was again. And don't just sort of fade in front of checkpoints or choke points like that, because, again, you're really easy to kill when Fade is on cooldown. So if you're gonna fade, you wanna fade away from people usually. You can fade forward aggressively, but you have to know you're not gonna get punished for it. Like, you're easy to kill when Fade is on cooldown, so try not to be super close to the enemy team when Fade is on cooldown, because the risk of dying is significantly higher while Fade is on cooldown. So, even though it looked like they might gain some progress in, that didn't work out. Very upset about how we threw the orb. It happens sometimes. Tracer's still really good at killing Moira. But she can heal while she can do damage to the Tracer and drain, and it's really hard to kill the Moira. Yes, Straw Man, I understand that she can drain you, but have you considered that if you just kill the Moira, she can't drain you? It's very simple. Yes, I am basically just saying, get good. But, I mean, and there's really no follow-up to that, honestly. So, they're pushing on to the point right now, and a lot of ultimates are happening. And we don't have our ultimate. A lot of our team just died. They don't win this push, somehow. Even though, like, they really should, because it looks like their Moira isn't really very interested in healing people either. Is Moira the only healer they have? I think so, and she's not interested in healing people. Because what basically happened during that fight right there was they started winning the fight, but they didn't actually have any healing, so they sort of all slowly get chipped down and die. Because we left the fight for a second, then we come back, and everybody's low health, because, like, the fights happened, but they've got no staying power, because they don't actually have any healing. And this is why, if you don't have a healer, you just kind of lose. It's the only mandatory component of the game, really. So, I get we're using the healing orb to heal ourselves right now, but if you're gonna do that, at least try and get as much value out of it as possible. First off, don't throw it at the ground, because don't throw any orb at the ground, because once you throw it at the ground, it is then going to immediately start bouncing upwards right after that, and once it goes up, that's it. It's gone. It's over at that. Once it starts going up, it's not gonna do anything else for you, so you want to keep it, like, horizontal. You don't want to throw it vertically. And if you're gonna throw the healing orb, just throw it out onto the point and try to get it to bounce around the point a little bit more so that, like, your team benefits from some healing as well, because the healing orb is hard to get a lot of value out of, and if we're gonna use it to heal ourselves, we do still want to try and get as much value out of it as possible. Also, there's a fight happening over there, and we've been watching the orb this entire time, so we get over here to use Coalescence, but, like, half the people who really wanted us to use Coalescence are already dead, so don't get too distracted by the physics of the orb. But it's okay, because the enemy team is still really bad. Again, this is the great equalizer in Overwatch, is that it doesn't matter how bad your team is, the enemy team can always be worse. But I'm stuck in Elo hell, I can't get out of gold because nobody knows how to play the video game. No, you don't know how to play the video game. No, they don't know how to play the video game either, but you also don't know how to play the video game, that's why you're down there. Anyway, Elo hell. It's okay, every Elo is Elo hell, so yes, it just never gets any better. The enemy team gets better, your team doesn't get better. It's the one consistency in Overwatch. So, Zarya is normally scary for Moira, but when Zarya's got 0 charge, she can't really kill you, so it's not that much of an issue. And we could indeed just sort of fight the Zarya. Now, Roadhog is a hero we will never beat in a trillion billion years, unless the Roadhog is actually the worst person in the entire game. Don't bother fighting him. Just let other people deal with it. You never kill him without outside interference. Or him being actually awful, like actually being a walrus or a land whale at the keyboard, just kind of slapping keys. You don't beat Roadhog, don't even try. You can in this situation when he's using his ultimate, but even then it takes so long because you only do 50 damage per second. And then the damage orb does another 50 damage per second, but Roadhog's got 600 health and take a breather. You don't kill Roadhog. You don't try. It's not worth the effort. So they don't capture the checkpoint because they're actually awful at the video game. Which is, how a lot of things end up, really. This is how Overwatch... Look at this. This has got to be the off-season. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Look at this team. We're gonna do great. Overwatch is a terrible video game. because the people that play the video game are so terrible. Yes, that does include me. Don't worry. We're all terrible together. It's a bonding experience. So, we are again the main healer, because the other healer is Zenyatta. This is just like a standing thing. Like, I don't really care what you play, but just as I feel obligated to say it anyway, in this situation, you really should change to Mercy, because Mercy is so strong. And Moira can be a main healer, but when your team sees, like, Moira and, like, an off healer, it's one of those things where your team immediately gets tilted, basically, and starts throwing the game, which is not... It is not hard to provoke people to doing that in Overwatch. The other day, someone was throwing the game. I was playing a game, and someone, like High Diamond, don't forget, like High Diamond, Low Masters at the time, and someone decided that they were going to pick Torbjorn and throw themselves off the map because somebody picked McCree instead of Soldier, and they said McCree is just a worse soldier, so you're throwing the game, so I'm going to throw the game. The Overwatch, it's not hard to make people throw the game in Overwatch, but because most people think of Moira as being an off healer, so if they see you pick Moira and an off healer, they usually start throwing. I would know. I play Moira. Anyway, I don't really care what you play, but I do feel obligated to say in this situation you really should change to Mercy, because Mercy is just really strong. And even after she gets nerfed, she's still going to be strong, because Valkyrie is still a very strong ultimate, and Ana's still bad. But, anyway, I don't care if you play Moira. I play Moira. I don't change to Mercy. Mercy is fucking boring, dog. I don't want to play Mercy. I want to hit people, okay? It's the exact same thing with Reinhardt. I want to hit people. I know I should sit back and hold my shield up, but I want to hit people. God. Mom, I want to swing the hammer and push the shift key. Checking my stats, like, whenever I checked my stats as Reinhardt, it was always really depressing, because it was like, damage top 95% or something, deaths top 30%. Oh no, oh Jesus. That's a generous, that's like top 50% deaths. I'm like, oh god, I should really try and die less, but then I just keep pushing the shift key anyway. I want to hit them, okay? It's not my fault Blizzard made pinning people so satisfying, okay? It's just not as fun to sit there and hold the shield up. Similarly, it's not as fun to play Mercy. So, as you can see, we have kind of just walked in, because they haven't gotten any less terrible between rounds, basically. This is, again, the thing with Overwatch. Enemy team can always be worse than your team. It's just how it is. So we get to capture this point, and we had to do nothing. We had to do exactly nothing to capture this checkpoint, except be here. Roadhog should not be doing this, by the way. He should throw himself off the edge, but he's not going to do that. Don't get in his face. No, don't do that. Roadhog's got a shotgun. It's a fairly close range weapon. Moira can be 20 meters away and draining someone, and you don't do more damage for being closer to people. Roadhog wants you to be closer to him because he's got a shotgun. Don't get close to Roadhog. Stay away from Roadhog. Just in general, as Moira, stay away from people, because you being closer to them gives you absolutely nothing, and it is usually just making it easier for them to kill you. Sometimes you get shot in the head by Hanzo, it just happens, you know. Mr. Monkey Nut is probably unhappy about that one as well. We do have Fade, so like if you see Hanzo or Widowmaker aiming at you, you probably want to try and fade around a corner. But sometimes you're going to get shot in the head by Hanzo, and that's just how life is, really. Sometimes you're just walking around having a perfectly nice day playing Overwatch. This is very rare. This is a very rare circumstance, but sometimes you're walking around having a good day in Overwatch, and then he just throws his skill at your feet, and it explodes on you, and you're like, wow, Hanzo is such a fun and interactive hero. And then you e-bully the Zarya for not playing Winston. And then you e-bully the Winston for not killing the Hanzo. That's how we play Overwatch. So, we don't really want to be over here, because this is really coming through this way is terrible. Like, I don't know why people want to come through this path sometimes, because it's awful. It is just a long death corridor. There is no incentive to go this way. Don't come and fight around this way. Like, look at it. Look at it. It's the most terrifying hallway I've ever seen in my life. So anything comes around the corner and it's instantly terrifying because we're in this hallway. Zenyatta comes around like charging his right click. You're like, oh no, there's nowhere for me to dodge because it's a 2x2 hallway. Hanzo comes around like, oh no, he's gonna throw his skill into the hallway with me. Just don't go around that way. It's not worth it. I don't know why people want to go that way. In general, I fucking hate Volskaya Industries, and it's honestly the most well-balanced 2CP map, but that's not saying much, right? Because this checkpoint is fucking terrible. Because, like, there's no actually good way to approach this objective, right? Because, like, you can go this way, that's awful. You can go that way, that's awful. You can go up and around, but that's not really much better than just going straight there. You can go left and around, but then, like, your choice is still just, like, come up that way, or, like, go around that way. Neither of which is still that appealing. If you've got mobility, you can go around that way, which no one is ever looking at, so you, like, that's easy. But, like, this checkpoint is so obnoxious to try and attack, because it's just such a... You have to do a death run to get to the objective, and if you don't just, like, brute force it with ultimates, it just doesn't work. But it's still a 2CP map as well, so even if you get the team fight, they suddenly start coming out with fucking... Like, they come out with the Tracer, the Mei, the Diva, and you're like, well... I would like to capture this objective, but there's just always a fucker here, isn't there? So it's very hard. I hate Volskaya. It's the most well-balanced map. The most well-balanced 2CP map. But it's got... it's competing against such all-stars as the Horizon Lunar Colony, so it's not exactly hard to be the most well-balanced 2CP map. It's still terrible, but, like... At least the first checkpoint is relatively easy to capture. Mostly just because everybody is terrible and doesn't want to play that checkpoint like you're actually supposed to. Because people always want to sit up by the arch. The best thing you can actually do is sit back by the point and, like, defend from the high ground. But that's not what people want to do. They want to stand up in the archway because they're like, we hold the choke point. The choke point on Volskaya Industries is terrible. So our team was dead. We shouldn't be in there anymore, by the way. I'm getting very distracted. Mostly because this game is, like, a shit show. But there's still some stuff to talk about in here, like how 2CP is trash. You know, I do love to complain, as you all know. I wake up in the morning like, what can I be upset about today? And life never disappoints. It always finds me something to be upset about. It gives me purpose. So, our team are currently off being bad, as we can see. We've got, Coalescence, which is great, but it doesn't really help if our team are off being terrible, because... So, we're gonna wait for our team again, and, we should be getting to a health kit. I say finding like we don't know where they are, but like we know where the health kits are. We should be going to get a health kit. There was no need to use the healing ore, because... we could have just gone and gotten a health kit. We do already have Coalescence, so it's not like the damage orb is, like, bringing us true value right now, but the damage orb is still better than the healing orb. Like, if you can get a health kit, just get a health kit. Okay, so, we've got a few ultimates. We got Death Blossom, Coalescence, Transcendence, you know, it's not quite the Nano Blade Graviton, but... you know, we've got some ultimates. There's, you know, and the enemy team are bad. We've seen that. So one of our ultimates is gone now. So now we've got Coalescence and Transcendence. The Facepalm spray is very good. It's my default spray. For Moira. So, there goes Roadhog. He shouldn't be doing that, but he's doing it. He's dead now. The only good thing about this push is there's Zenyatta wasted Transcendence, because, like, what the fuck was he using it for? Oh god. and now we're pretty fucked. Don't come get this health kit, because, like, honestly, even though you've got no way of knowing he's coming around that way, it's still just not worth it. Just, like, go get one of the other health kits that's safer. Because there's the health kit that's out in the courtyard, the large health kit on the left, like, outside the courtyard. You're not going to get killed going for that one. That health kit you sometimes get killed going for. It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, the risk is relatively low, but why take the risk at all? Like, you might as well just negate the risk completely. It's the same thing with, like, doing the thing right at the start of the round where you throw things into the enemy team's spawn. It's like, yeah, the risk of you dying is quite low, but oh god. It fixes itself, don't worry. It's like, yeah, the risk of dying is quite low overall, but, like, why take the risk at all? Because the payoff is that you get some ult charge, but the risk is you lose the first checkpoint. Why even bother? So, Reaper went in and spanned and didn't really get very much done. It's alright, we're gonna use Coalescence, and it goes so much better than expected. Like, we just suddenly win out of nowhere. Like, did you expect that to happen? Or did you think we were just gonna sit here grinding forever, not actually getting anywhere? No, we just suddenly won the game. How about that? Just out of nowhere. And honestly, I don't even know why we won. We did just suddenly win, basically. I mean, I do know why we won. It's because the enemy team is bad, as we saw several times. So we don't get what's happening here. Buying the facepalm spray. It's a good spray. Alright, so, anyway. This game was awful. It must be during the off-season, because the winter thing is still going on in the background. The thing is with this game is that it was also trash. It was less trash than, like, the last Moira game, but, like, our team was still bad. That being said, there was something to take out of this game, which is a lot more than the last Moira game. But, the thing that stands out the most is, like, we don't spend a lot of time healing people. We are very preoccupied with doing damage, and, like, yeah, Moira has to do damage to be able to consistently heal people, but healing is still your #1 priority, and it takes precedent over you doing damage. So, like, I'm just thinking about when that Orisa got hooked right in front of us, and we still kept right-clicking the Roadhog instead of healing the Orisa. Like, healing is your #1 priority, so you should prioritize that over doing damage. And then the other thing is, like, don't use the healing orb so much. Like, it's trash. It's a trash ability. Just, like, use the damage orb. The healing orb is so very rarely useful. It is basically like you're dueling someone, or a lot of people on your team are very injured and very close together. And even then, like, your left click is still just a lot of healing. Like, even then, the healing orb still tends to be overkill. So, those are the things that stood out the most in this game. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful, or at least nominally entertaining, because, God, it was a terrible game. As most off-season games tend to be.